There is a kind of exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from trying too hard. You've felt it. The weight of a simple task that somehow becomes unbearable. The way your body tightens when you need it most to move. The strange heaviness that settles over your mind precisely when clarity is required. You are not weak. You are not lazy. You are caught in an invisible war between what you want to do and how you believe it must be done. This is the contradiction that lives in the center of modern striving. We are taught that hard things require hard effort, that achievement demands force, that breakthrough comes from pushing through, and so we push. We clench our fists around our goals, we hold our breath and lean into resistance. We believe that if we just grip tighter, try harder, force more, something will finally give, but it doesn't. The task remains, the deadline looms, the goal stays distant, and in the center of your chest, a tension builds that has no name. Consider the hand that tries to hold water. The tighter the grip, the faster the water escapes. The harder you squeeze, the less remains. This is not a metaphor. This is the mathematics of force meeting flow. Your mind knows this. But your body has been trained to do the opposite. You have been taught that discipline means rigidity, that strength means tension, that focus requires strain. And so when faced with something difficult, you instinctively contract. Your jaw tightens, your shoulders rise, your breathing becomes shallow, your thoughts accelerate into a kind of mental noise that drowns out the very intuition you need. This is the trap. Not the difficulty of the task itself, but the way you meet it. The resistance you feel is not coming from the challenge in front of you. It is coming from the collision between your effort and your approach. You are not fighting the task, you are fighting yourself. There is an ancient understanding that has been lost in the translation between Eastern philosophy and Western achievement. It has nothing to do with working less, or wanting less, or avoiding difficulty. It has everything to do with the quality of your engagement. Imagine a blade cutting through water. If the blade is sharp and the movement is clean, the water offers no resistance. The cut is effortless. The blade passes through as if the water were not there. But if the blade is dull, if the angle is wrong, if the hand that holds it is tense, even water becomes an obstacle. The water has not changed. The difficulty of the task has not increased. What changed is the relationship between the blade and the water, between you and the challenge. This is where most people misunderstand effort. They believe that more force creates more impact, that greater tension produces greater results, that if something is hard, the response must be harder. But force creates counterforce. Tension produces rigidity. Hardness meets hardness and nothing moves. There is another way. It begins not with trying harder, but with releasing the belief that hardness requires hardness in return. It begins with the recognition that your body already knows how to do difficult things. You have walked across ice without thinking about balance. You have caught falling objects without calculating trajectory. You have spoken words in moments of truth that you did not rehearse. In each of these moments, there was no time for the clenching, no space for overthinking, no opportunity for the tightness that usually accompanies effort. And in those moments, you moved with a precision that thinking could never produce. This is not magic. This is what happens when consciousness steps aside and allows competence to emerge. The problem is not that you lack the ability to do hard things. The problem is that you have learned to interfere with your own capacity. Your conscious mind, with all its anxiety and planning and doubt, has become an obstacle between intention and action. Consider the hand that writes. When you first learned to form letters, every stroke required immense concentration. Your hand cramped, your progress was slow. Each letter was a small battle. But now, years later, your hand moves across the page without thought. The letters form themselves. You don't think about the pressure of the pen or the angle of your wrist. The difficulty has not disappeared. You simply stopped interfering with your body's natural intelligence. This is the threshold where everything changes. When you stop trying to force your way through difficulty and instead learn to meet it with a different quality of presence. Not passive, not weak, not avoiding the challenge, but present to it in a way that allows your natural capacity to express itself without the static of mental interference. The shift feels subtle at first. You approach a task that normally creates anxiety, but instead of bracing against it, you notice the bracing. You feel the tension before it fully forms. And in that noticing, something loosens. Your breath deepens without effort. Your shoulders drop without command. Your mind, which was racing a moment before, settles into a strange clarity. The task has not become easier, but your relationship to it has fundamentally changed. Where there was resistance, now there is only attention. Where there was struggle, now there is only action. The work still requires effort, but the effort no longer feels like war. This is not relaxation in the conventional sense. This is aliveness without excess, engagement without interference, effort that flows rather than forces. Watch a master craftsman shape wood. Their movements are economical. There is no wasted motion, no excessive force. The tool moves through the material as if following a path already there. They are not trying hard. They are simply allowing their skill to express itself without obstruction. The same principle applies to every domain of human performance. The musician does not force the notes. The athlete does not muscle through the movement. The thinker does not wrestle with the idea. At the highest levels, there is a quality of effortlessness that looks like ease, but is actually the result of total engagement without mental friction. This is what becomes possible when you stop treating difficulty as an enemy to be conquered and start treating it as a partner to be met with appropriate response. Modern life has made this nearly impossible to understand. You live in a world that glorifies busyness, that measures worth by exhaustion, that mistakes stress for importance. You have been taught that if you are not struggling, you are not trying hard enough. That comfort is the enemy of achievement, that the path to excellence is paved with suffering. And so you wear your tension like armor. You carry your stress as proof of your commitment. You believe that the tightness in your chest is the price of caring, but excellence does not require suffering. Achievement does not demand exhaustion. Growth does not need to feel like punishment. What you call discipline is often just habituated tension. What you call focus is often just mental rigidity. What you call effort is often just interference dressed as intention. In your work, this shows up as the deadline that paralyzes rather than motivates. In your relationships, as the conversation you rehearse until it becomes impossible to have. In your creative endeavors, as the blank page that grows more intimidating the longer you stare at it. The harder you try to make it happen, the further it slips away. This is not personal failure. This is what happens when force meets flow. The principle is simple, but the practice requires unlearning. You must learn to distinguish between effort and strain, between engagement and interference, between trying and forcing. Effort moves you toward the goal. Strain creates internal resistance. Engagement brings you into contact with the task. Interference puts your anxiety between you and what needs to be done. Trying is an invitation to your capacity. Forcing is violence against your own nature. The distance between these states is measured in millimeters, but the difference is absolute. In one, you flow toward challenge. In the other, you collide with it. This is the Lee method. Not force, flow, not harder, clearer, not more tension, less obstruction. It is not a technique you add to your approach. It is the removal of what was never necessary. The tightness you thought was strength, the overthinking you confused with preparation, the mental noise you mistook for engagement. What remains when these fall away is not weakness. It is pure capacity, unobstructed. Neuroscience has begun to confirm what ancient practice always knew. When the brain is in a state of calm focus, performance increases across every measurable domain. Reaction time improves, pattern recognition sharpens, creative solutions emerge. The body moves with greater precision when the mind is not flooding it with anxiety signals. This is not motivation. This is biology. Your nervous system functions optimally when it is engaged but not overwhelmed. Alert but not alarmed. Present but not rigid. The Lee method is not philosophy imposed on the body. It is alignment with how your system was designed to function. So the next time you face something hard, notice how you meet it. Feel the way your body responds before your hands even move. Notice if you are bracing, clenching, holding your breath. Notice if your mind is already fighting with the task before you begin. And then, without forcing yourself to relax, without trying to be calm, simply acknowledge what is happening. In that acknowledgement, space opens. Not because you created it, but because you stopped collapsing it with unnecessary tension. And in that space, something changes. The task is still difficult, but you are no longer at war with it. You are simply there, meeting it with the full capacity of your attention and your skill, unobstructed by the weight of trying too hard. This is how hard things become effortless. Not because they become easy, but because you stop making them harder than they are. The blade cuts through water not because water has no substance, but because the blade does not try to conquer what it passes through. It simply passes, clean, clear, complete.